Well, good morning, everybody. I guess I'm chairing the show today. Our chair is off on running around the world. So I'm it for the day. So we start with introductions because we have a lot of new faces. You're up.
Oh, Laura Ocasio, District 2.
Gonzalo Garcia, District 7.
Lee McIntosh, District. I don't remember. Sorry.
Kona Tohala or
Hello.
Kau, yeah.
Hello, my name is Kahali Terry. I'm just a concerned citizen in the state of New
Okay.
That's good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Carvalho. And I
Okay.
Hello, Kakahia Kakako. I am Mikala Piper. I represent Hanai Kaios as well. Hi, I'm Dot Norris. I represent District 8.
And John Olson, Kuna District 5. And I'm the chair for the day.
I'm Melissa Cardwell. I think I'm actually District 5, John. I think you might be District 4. We're both in Puna.
There you go. I keep forgetting they split us up a little bit. Okay, well, that's it for the introductions.
You have your agenda in front of
Hmm?
you? You have your agenda?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, yeah. So, I don't know, has everybody had any opportunity to look at any of the handouts yet? Yeah. So, obviously, at the top of the list that we left off with at the last meeting was the discussion of the wastewater issues and the solid waste issues. Okay. Oh, I've got one here somewhere. There we go. And the county is working on the new general plan. And to incorporate all of this into that. This is the first that I've seen of this one. So I'm going to assume that nobody's gotten a heads up on this prior to the meeting. Okay. So,
It was
Am I-
in our agenda at the bottom of the
Packet.
in the,
yeah, but I mean, there
Footnotes.
wasn't
you
actually
could
any.
check it out there.
Yeah.
Yes, I took a few minutes to read it.
Yeah, but I mean, anybody had any chance to look at this prior to the meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, she has. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, the total of what we do is wastewater and solid waste. So, yeah, bringing the rest of the folks up to speed. Because they haven't received any other handouts other than this. I mean, okay, let me go around the room. Do you have any do you have
Comments?
issues in your district?
One of the things that I read in here was that injection wells are allowed in exempted areas, but it doesn't really, I guess, under chapter 62. It states that it has to be 1,000 feet from any water source, drinking water source. But they really don't, I didn't see a map of the exempted areas in either the general plan or in this. So I was wondering if we could get an idea of where those exempted areas are. And my concern is that in Maui, in Lahaina, they were doing dye studies, and injection wells and along shorelines, and found that, injection wells were actually, impacting areas, along the shoreline, and I was wondering, do we have that here? And I don't see it in the general plan or.
I
here.
know we have it in Puna.
I know we have one in, near the airport in Kona as well. But, whether those are, impacting the area or not, we don't know, as far as I know. I don't even know if they're an exempted area, so. If we could get some kind of idea on that, I would, I'd feel more comfortable with this.
Lee, you got
Excuse me,
anything?
Mr. Chair,
Can't hear her, that's why she's trying to, Corp Council's trying to jump in.
Oh,
excuse me, can you hear me?
Oh, now.
yeah,
Are we calling items out of order? Or, because you went from call to order to number V2. So I just want to make sure if there's anyone who wants to give public statements, they have an opportunity.
okay,
Approve minutes,
Oh,
gotta approve the
okay.
minutes and then.
Yeah,
okay. All right, so let's do that. We'll do the first off, the approval of the minutes. Has anybody had an opportunity to see them? Is
Yes, yes,
everybody good with them?
yes.
Okay,
Motion to approve the minutes.
all those in favor?
Sorry, hold on, motion by
Motion.
Commissioner
Two.
Ocasio.
Do we have a second?
that's,
Okay, discussion,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
that's,
Okay,
coming from vice chair.
so I already did the introductions more or less. We did get everybody introduced, right? Oh, you came in late. So,
but, John's
Gonzo can
Yeah.
introduce himself more thoroughly.
is new.
Yeah, so I'm just very appreciative of the opportunity to support this commission, and I hope I can add some value going forward. I've had just an amazing career. Traveled the world, saw what looks like, what good looks like. I've seen what bad looks like, and I want to try and apply what good looks like and help out any way I can here in my home. So I've been a resident now full-time for over a year, but I've been coming here for 17 years. I've been working on a remodel in Kona for 4 years. When you got to question my sanity trying to do that during the pandemic, but I was here half-time for the 4 years and now full-time for about a year and a half. So I'm just very happy the remodel's done, and now I can give it back to my community. That's all I got.
Thank you for your service.
yeah, thank you for your time. Okay,
Number 4.
Yes, we're gonna move to Stevens from the public. Or, you can, oh, there's one chair over there,
And the mic is here, but
speak loudly. Yeah. Here, this is Christine Kubat, here to speak on item.
Which item?
Item.
you got it?
1, 5, and 6.
Okay, thank you very much. This is on behalf of Recycle Hawaii. Just very briefly on item 1, the new business. We're very strong supporters of both Mikala and Charles and the work that we're doing. Actually, very impressed and excited to have them active in our community. So I hope as things come forward to this commission on the work that they're doing, you folks would be supportive. Then number 5, SB 1458 Senate Draft 1. This is a piece of legislation that our organization worked on. It's an EPR bill. We're calling it EPR. It's really reuse, which is very innovative. And we're hoping to get support from the county. We did get support in the form of testimony last session. So thank you very much, Director Mansour and others in the county. And we're going to be pushing ahead. Something new around that is that we realized that the infrastructure that you would need to put in place to collect containers and wash them is basically the same infrastructure you would need to fill them in the first place. So there's a very strong alignment between our goals and food security. We've been doing a lot of networking with people who are engaged in local food production. And we look forward to getting support from the commission, from the county council, from everybody here at the county level, because this would be an ongoing source over the next 5 years of a significant amount of money that could be used to stand up reuse infrastructure. It works very nicely with the work that Jennifer Navarra and Perpetual and those folks are doing with the Swiffer grant that they got. So it's really exciting. This would be the way for us to build on the work that they do and have these reuse centers distributed statewide. Then number 6, recommendations with the film industry. So this is something we support very strongly. And a couple years back, I went undercover in the film industry and I got myself on one of these production crews and I got to see like what actually happens. And there's this sort of idea that they're very green-minded and they're doing the right thing when actually they're not. And it's not because they're bad people, it's just because it's not happening. So we have bins, collapsible, movable bins for collecting high fives, and they are on permanent loan to one of the production companies as a way to at least do something. But we've seen high five containers that aren't even collected. There's no effort to collect food scraps or food contaminated compostable paper. And so something really needs to be done. So the reason this is so important is what we found was if you arrive on scene after the production is there and everyone's set up and the systems are in play, there's no money, there's no interest really in doing anything around waste management. And what we hear over and again is it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. So in order to get it in the budget, it has to be part of the permitting process. Somebody comes to the county, they have to get a permit to film here, and should be right within that permit. They should be required to have a zero waste plan or a waste management plan. And then it's in the budget. So you have this multi-million-dollar film production, you think, wow, couldn't they just spend an extra $5,000 or something? If it's not in the budget, they can't. And that's the way to get it in. So once it's in the budget, then it's there. It's going to build capacity for local consultants, for people to handle the materials. It would be a way to build relationships with folks like Hanai Kaiaulu. And so I very strongly recommend it. It's possible that the mayor could just do it on his own through the film commission. Not sure, court counsel would maybe want to check that out. But if there was an actual ordinance that would say, if you're going to do a film production here as part of the permitting process, you need to come up with a zero waste plan, that would be awesome. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
The idea.
Question,
Yes.
on the contractual side, is the state the issuer of it, or does the county have a role to play there?
My understanding is the county film commission actually gives the permit. And I have talked to Aulani Freitas about it.
Mhm.
She's very supportive. Again, there's just this like attitude where people are supportive, but it's not actually happening. And people think that these production companies are doing this, but they're not. And when you talk to them, they want to do it, they don't have money because it's not in the budget. So it goes back to the
Because it's
permit.
after the fact.
Mhm.
All the
It's after the
contracts have
fact.
been written.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I feel. Oh, we're
Go
not
ahead.
in- We're not in discussion.
sure it doesn't have time.
Okay, discuss. Okay. Later.
okay, thank you, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to testify? Here, no further testifiers at this moment.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. We'll probably have some discussion on that further down the line.
New business, number 1. Oh, number 1. On the other, it's on the other page.
I know, I was just trying
Sorry.
to get ahead.
Got it.
Okay, number one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they're it.
Yeah.
You're number 1.
Thank you guys for being here. Oh, this is the mic, so. No, it's all good. Sometimes when you're in a Zoom screen, it does weird things. Yeah. Like, the present button disappears.
Yep.
We'll probably brief recess.
Okay. Let's see.
Can they hear us from here? Okay.
Hello, Mike, ako,
Aloha.
Aloha.
again. Mikala Piper, and I am Charles Carvalho. We're with Hanai Kaiulu. Mikala is also the founder of Hanai Kaiulu, as well as the president. And we're gonna start our presentation now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Aloha ko, I am from Wai'anae, Oahu. I was born and raised in Wai'anae. I'm an educator for 24 years. I am a product of the public school system, and I am not leaving my community, and that's where I'm gonna be till I retire. So who are we? Hanai Kaiulu is a student-led nonprofit organization with a focus on our food systems through bokashi composting and cardboard shredding. So, and education in our community. And our goal is to expand now to the outer islands and to other schools. So we're gonna talk today, couple of topics that we're gonna talk about is carbon abatement, recycling of cardboard, community engagement, and community service for students, as well as the CRB and our help to curb or decrease the spread of CRB in my community. What is cardboard shredding?
Basically, cardboard shredding is we take the cardboard, run it through a cardboard shredding machine. And I have some examples of the shredded cardboard here, if you can pass this down.
Oh, cool.
So Governor Ige declared Hawaii the first state to declare a climate change emergency. We're like in climate crisis right now. And the declaration said we needed a statewide collaboration to restore a safe climate. So it's sort of a mandate for community and organizations to band together and start doing something. So we found that cardboard was rather not a rubbish, but a resource. So we're flipping the script and hoping to change mind shifts.
Benefits for rubbish to resources, reducing waste, promoting a clean environment, reduce emissions, and provides raw material for new products, both eco-friendly and cost-effective. Also creating sustainable solutions, demonstrating commitment to sustainability to consumers.
So we gotta be the front line, right, at showing sustainability to our people in our community. What we created is called Sustainable Saturdays. So Sustainable Saturdays is a process where community drops off cardboard. Obviously, it's on a Saturday, it's at the school. For our first site is at the school. Communities drop off cardboard, we then shred it, prep it, get it ready. We give it to farmers in exchange for fresh produce. So you drop off your cardboard and you go home with some healthy meal from our local farmers. So we're closing the loop, yeah. Students get community service hours on this opportunity. Farmers get what they need. They also get clean mulch. They have access now to clean mulch, and they also go home with, like, this is the Ahupua'a system. We're closing the loop. This is a shared reciprocity. So this is nothing old. This was something that we lived on for years, yeah, for centuries. Is that shared economy or closing the loop?
So different applications that shredded cardboard can be used. One is for sheet mulch or compost. Next one is packaging material for shipping. Keeping your products safe. Instead of using bubble wrap, plastic bubble wrap, we're using the shredded cardboard. Chicken and rabbit bedding, chickens and they love the bedding. Yeah, they love it, and also compostable pots, decorations and centerpieces, as you can tell in the lower picture that they do make beautiful centerpieces, as well as worm food for vermicompost.
We'll pass this down right here. That's a little pot.
Thank you.
The students have made with trying to eliminate our plastic use of plastic pots. I don't know about you, but when I get excited about planting, I go to Home Depot, I buy like $100 worth of plants. And I get $100 worth of plastic pots too, once I transfer them in the ground. But for this case, you put the plant in the pot and you just plant the whole pot. Plant the whole pot. So nurseries are working with us. So some benefits, right, to the cardboard shredding, that piece that you have, it actually suppresses weeds. It retains water and moisture in the Aina. We're from Hawai'i, so it's super hot. It helps build soil structure, and it also helps to absorb the impact of fallen fruit. So this is from our mango farmer, our lemon farmer. She's like, this is great stuff. It's actually, if you put a couple down together, it's quite soft. So it absorbs mangoes dropping and any kind of food dropping. Yeah. In my sense, I teach Hawaiian language and Hawaiian culture. It's returning Aina to Aina. Yeah, that's the big idea, the big takeaway when I present the project. We're improving the waste management in our food systems. So part of the food systems, the last part is the waste management, which we don't have a clear idea of what we're doing. We don't have that part. I look at other countries, I look at other states, they have a food waste system they have a waste management system for food, they have a waste management system for cardboard. They got it going, like we are 100 years behind. And considering an island, yeah, we ship in food, we ship off Opala, and considering where I live in Waianae, where I want to focus too on environmental injustices of where the landfills are. So the landfills are in my area, in my Aina, in my Moku. So I stand strong with what I do here. And sharing my ike and my knowledge with you folks. Okay. So putting carbon back into the soil. Once you put this back into the soil, the worms come back, garden gets greener, plant starts growing. You're just putting Aina back to Aina. Yeah, and we need those worms. Here's an example. This is not case studies, but this is like real life situations. Top-notch fruit and farm in Maili. She's working with us for the past 3 years. Her kuleana, she wants to reduce plastic weed mat. So this replaced the weed mat that she's been using for years. And it also, she said that this is the first time she's gotten a second season of mangoes. So she's sharing that excitement to all her neighbor friends and all her farmer friends that, hey, I got for you guys, you're getting one, and probably I got two. Yeah.
She really likes it too because it actually absorbs the impact of the fruit, so there's less damage to the fruit itself. So yeah,
But
very
the water
useful.
comes through the soil as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
It
good
takes a lot.
aeration the way it yeah. Yeah.
And we have here the hibiscus lady in Wailua. Cost for pots is 75 cents. Cardboard pots are 20 cents. So you see the price difference there. Savings money and reducing, of course, plastic use, most importantly.
Right, so we had all our nurseries, possibly connecting to one of our schools and one of our projects, our programs in each community. We could be servicing our farmers or our nurseries with this project. Urban Garden Center, that's part of CTAR, University of Hawaii Manoa. They don't purchase, we do all exchange, everything is exchanging. They give us a whole bunch of fresh produce for our Sustainable Saturday, and we give them, they're requesting confetti. So it's a different type of process, but it's the same machine, and they use it for smaller areas in their garden, like their garden beds. So that's a picture of the shredded cardboard.
You had some of that in some.
Yeah, on the
pots
top,
as
on the
well.
top, we put a little bit on the top. And then this will be the last one about bubble wrap and plastic use. So 42% of the plastic, the packaging is plastic. Yeah, packaging is also the shortest lifespan. It's one-time use. And we know that when it goes into the landfill, It creates microplastics breaking down into our soil, which we're already seeing, or breaking down into our oceans. And we've already seen that in shrimp, in fish, in us, in human consumption. So we have another business, Vintage Vinegars. He uses it for packaging of his vinegars and his fermented products. With that elimination of bubble wrap.
Environmental impact, 1 ton or 2,000 pounds of recycled cardboard can save up to 17 trees from being cut down, 9 cubic yards of land space, reduce landfill usage, decrease carbon emissions, return Aina to Aina, Papa and Wakia.
So Papua and Wakia is that picture on the top. When I work with Native Hawaiian communities, there's no way you can teach Hawaiian language or Hawaiian studies without teaching Aina. Yeah, there's no way. So I teach about Papa and Wakia. So when we return to Aina, we help in Papa Hana Moku, Mother Earth, you may know her as. And then when we're capturing all that greenhouse gases or diverting that, we are helping Wakia or our Sky Father. And those two concepts, if you're Hawaiian, Kanaka, Keiki, you know that. You know that people, Heli ka Aina, he kawa ke Kanaka. We are just stewards of this land. Yeah, the land is the chief. That data there on the side is actually my data from Sustainable Saturdays. That is the amount of cardboard that we collected. I think it was like 1,500, then 1,700, 6,700. And for this school year, we only had 2 Sustainable Saturdays, September and October, and we've already reached 7,000 pounds. So we are connecting our Sustainable Saturday with food distributions because they happen like the first Saturday of the month. So with post-COVID and more food distributions being, distributed to our communities, we have more cardboard as well. So they just like drop it off to us and we got tons of cardboard. Yeah.
Including impact, environmental stewardship. As you can see here, we have 2 of our youngest members, Hilinai and Aubrey, with that talented musician there, Jack Johnson, with Kokua Foundation, basically showing them how to make the Aina-friendly planting pots as it was passed around earlier. Community service hours for schools exposed to natural resource careers, 21st century skills, also stronger sense of civic responsibility.
Yeah, so this goes from Keiki, we service Keiki all the way to high school, and high school loves it. They get their community service hours in their personal transition plan, which is a 0.5 credit in the Department of Education here in Hawaii. It's a requirement. Younger students like that, they learn 21st century skills, speaking, presenting, collaboration, like they're 10 years old and they're presenting to Kokua Hawaii Foundation director, and they can do this. I'm sure all this Keiki that we get in touch with will, they'll get it. Stronger sense of civic responsibility. That's a kuleana. Yeah. What's your kuleana back to the Aina? So student impact, community, community impact. What does the community get out of this? Education and awareness. What you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, they get a healthy food swap. They get a clean supply of mulch. As you can see, that's like one of our CSA boxes for that week. Those are all donations that get swapped with the clean cardboard, the shredded cardboard. And then the other picture is just a person coming to say, can I get some? Can I take some home? And we're like, absolutely. So they can come and take some, they can come and drop some, either one of them. So, and then the CRB is just another way of helping our farmers access clean mulch on the west side. Sustainable Saturdays data.
Sustainable Saturdays data. So back in 2021 to present, so far we've had 17 sustainable Saturdays, 354 in attendance, 1,416 community service hours, 320 community impact, and 14,751 total pounds of cardboard. So that's huge.
Yeah, and that's just 17 Saturdays working 8 to 12. Where do we go from here? Now, how can our project expand to other schools? My students recently won $25,000 in a grant with American Savings Bank. And with this money, there's a little video over here, but you guys can watch that later. With this money, they said, let's buy cardboard shredders for all the West Side schools. Uh-oh.
It's loading.
Oh, it's loading. What happened? Oh,
There we
it's
go.
loading, it's loading. So what person will say, let me take my $25,000 and give it away? Basically, one cardboard shredder is $2,500. It gets shipped from the States. It's actually made in Germany. So they see the need for more outreach, and it's not like we need cardboard. We need more people shredding. We need more schools shredding. We need more people helping farmers access mulch. So we started with spending funds, and they're doing the workshop as well because it's student led. I'm just the driver and the person that takes them to the different areas, and they're presenting their project and giving away the shredders. So with their tasks, they created that name Scrappers Union. And we were recognized at legislation here at the state capitol back in April. So they got like this nice big award and really elevating the Haumana out in the West Side. Yeah, like not a lot of positive comes out of my side, but it is that people don't know about it. People don't know all the positive things. So for me, that is elevating my students, my community, and there is good. So Scrappers Union, real quick, we know West Side people want to fight, and we're flipping the script, changing that stereotype. Like, yeah, we're still down to scrap. We'll scrap your food waste, we'll scrap your cardboard, we'll scrap your newspaper. They have a logo and a shirt, and they're just changing that stereotype. And when we give the schools their shredded cardboard, we're like, okay, now you're part of the Scrappers Union. You have to continue scrapping in this positive way. So really making a positive impact on not the INA, but the whole social emotional part of students in our community.
And also the schools that they did present the cardboard shredding machines to is for the first one was the deaf and blind school at the top right corner, and then also Kapolei High School, Waianae High School, as well as Makaha Elementary. And we are still continuing, they are still continuing to give out these shredders to the West Side schools.
These are just a few articles and news clips that they're a part of. If you missed it, we've been on the news twice. Civil Beat came out. We got an article in Ko'olina magazine and the Hale magazine. The students also went to the National Conservation Training Center in West Virginia and presented their project there to schools and teachers there. And then we did some work with the Future Farmers of America. I really think we should change that name to Future Farmers of Hawaii, but that's another meeting and another topic, but they're sharing it. So this is how it would look in a school or community. You drop off your cardboard community collection. You can have it community cardboard shred day, sustainable Saturday, whatever. We use sustainable Saturday. The students detape, shred, process the paper, goes back to the farmers, and then you receive fresh local produce while the supplies last. Everybody benefits, the students, the community, the farmers. It really is a win-win. The students also work on writing letters, donation letters, making possible October, November, December a little bit more special with getting donations of pumpkins for October. We got turkeys for November. We got gingerbread house kits for December. So just a little bit other skills that they learn through this project, through my program. So potential trends, that would be circular economy initiatives, right? That's the Ahupua'a system, closing the loop with the cardboard recycling materials. Collaboration between industries and people to promote and reuse recycling of our cardboard products, like the nurseries, the decoration people, the wedding people, whatever it is, because we've had already people ask like, hey, can you make it bigger? Can you make it smaller? Yeah, we can make them sort of whatever size you want. and just collabing with people like, hey, that it's nice, it's aesthetically pleasing, and the kids get community service hours. And really incentive programs and policies encouraging businesses to adopt sustainable practices, as we heard Christine say about the movie production, yeah. And to sum it up, key takeaways.
Environmental impact, waste reduction, economic benefits, community service opportunities. And by embracing these technologies and practices, we can contribute to a more sustainable and eco-friendly future while reaping the benefits of improved waste management.
And this is us. No website yet, because we are boots on the ground people. We're so busy, we don't have time for that, but we try to put on Instagram, and you can email us and ask our phone number. That's a presentation. We'll take questions. If you guys got questions, or if the outside in the computer road got questions.
So-
Internet land.
First off, fantastic, that's beautiful. stuff.
Mahalo.
It's awesome. Have you guys had any outreach to the coffee farms and stuff like that? Because I was out at one recently and they had thousands of starts and they're in plastic bags. I mean, that application right
Right.
there would be.
So I live on Oahu, he lives here,
Oh,
we're a couple, but I live there and he lives here, so I come back and forth, and we're just trying to grow whatever we can, so this would be the second of our outreach for Hilo. We did come to the climate change, oh shoot, we did come to the climate change fair, sorry, stop. Yeah, and then Laura, we've been in communication and discussion, and she said, hey, I think you guys should present, so here we are. So the next step would be connecting. Yeah, the next step would be Charles is actually a custodian at Waikea High School, and he's connected with the Key Club, which focuses on community service. Working with Christine, there's a possible site. I don't know if I should say it yet. No, okay. There's a possible site, but we can definitely hook up. We need the people to take the stuff from us. Like once we get this in, once we get kids, they're like, hey, I need community service hours. Once we get that going, then we're like, okay, who needs pots? Who needs cardboard? Who needs, let's come in, yeah. So we're definitely looking at more collaboration on this item.
Yeah, so we're still in the beginning processes, and that's a very good suggestion, and we'll definitely consider that. So right now, what I'm doing for my work here for Kanaikai is working with the students at Waikea High School. So I'm working with Mrs. Sato, the head for the Key Club, and she already was supporting the idea with the whole cardboard shredding, sustainable Saturdays, basically implementing and replicating what Mikala is doing out on Oahu. We're gonna bring that here as well. So definitely reaching out to like the coffee farmers and other farmers as well, and replicating, the same thing that Mikala is doing back on Oahu.
So we're just connecting the dots, like we need this, we need money. One of the items.
Expanding,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, it's a great program. Thanks.
that's what we're doing.
This is Commissioner McIntosh. I had two questions. One was, are your machines able to keep up? I think you have one machine for each location. Are they able to keep up with the shredding? Or do you do shredding on a separate day?
So we have multiple shredders that go on a Saturday, basically two. We can get more if we want to, but there's a lot that goes in that the students learn about, even the plastic on the cardboard. So there's time. It's very time consuming. I mean, we know waste management is time consuming. They take off the tape, the staples, everything so they're learning in the process. Yeah. So it is service learning as well. They're learning that all these things is not good for the INA. So there is the machines that we're giving away is as big as a printer. So it's a small mobile one where you can move around in the classroom and the school, but there are bigger ones that you can purchase with of course, more money. So there are bigger ones that, yeah.
That's it. My other one about, did they have to remove the?
Oh, yeah,
tape and
absolutely,
tape?
absolutely.
I thought maybe they had a machine that did.
There
it
is
for
one,
you.
there is one,
Oh.
there is one, but that's almost like $100,000, but it does de-tape the whole, all the plastics and everything, but there is one, yeah, so later on down the line, 5-10 years, you don't know where this can go.
Commissioner Casio, so, question, wonderful, first of all, thank you guys for
Not
being here, really appreciate it, super tight presentation, and just, I love the Scrappers Union. Especially being that my husband is from Mount Cooley, so that makes a lot of sense in my world. Not that you need more to do, but in terms of like data collection and science for the kids, do you, and this is kind of EPR related, so that maybe it can push legislation in an EPR direction. Do you have like kind of an assessment of which kinds of tapes are more gummy or keeping track of weight or anything of like the plastic coming off of it? I don't know, I'm just.
We do,
As a
yeah.
teacher, I'm like, how do you?
We
collect
do
these
weigh
things?
all the cardboard, so we weigh that, and that's
Okay.
how we get the data for our cardboard, so that gets put into a carbon offset calculator. But I mean, that could be
Not focusing on it.
yeah, not focusing on the plastic, we're just focused, which is the negative one, focus on the
Yeah.
positive, which is like the diversion, right? Yeah.
I'm
so-
just wondering if like certain ones are harder to get off and all those kinds of things in terms of if we utilize that data, maybe even if it's anecdotal, utilizing that data, pushing forward for EPR to say.
Yeah, like Amazon is the worst, I'm
Can
gonna
you
call it
please-
straight now.
can you
Amazon
stop
is the
using
worst
this
tape, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, the worst tape, but they know we don't wanna get any of these sticky things stuck in the shredder.
Yeah.
And then once it breaks down, it'll be microplastics in the ground, so all of that gets removed. Right now, I don't know what label is what, so best is just take everything off, you know, like I'm just best take everything off. We also shred the newspaper from Star Bulletin. We do know that that is made with soy-based paint, so which is good for the ina. The glue that we use is good for the ina, so keeping in mind, even when we receive items that is from maybe a poison company or so, we're like, nah, negative on that one, let's just put that in the blue bin where it's supposed to go. So we can do what we do know, and we do know this. Yeah. More maybe now?
Chair.
I had a quick question. Thank you guys so much. I've missed a bunch of meetings, but in my earlier days, cardboard, I was always like, the cardboard, we need to do something with it. It's such an incredible resource. And I've grown food myself and use cardboard all the time in my gardens. And especially here in Puna, as you know, we don't have a lot of soil. And so it's something that's really in need here. And so I just wanted to clarify, I think you guys pretty much answered it, but so all the cardboard that you collect on your sustainable Saturdays, is that right?
Yes, we do collect throughout the week as well, though, from other people that can't drop off, or a few small businesses that's like my friends.
Yeah.
Because technically, you know, at a time where COVID is took away jobs, we're creating green jobs as well. So if you can put this system with the economic drive, you have a truck driver picking up cardboard from small stores and small places that don't have that recycling bin, because there's so many stores that don't, or like the salon, the hardware store in YNI, the auto body shop, they don't purchase that recycling cardboard. So we go on the weekends, during the week after work, we go out and pick that up and then take that to school. So the whole community is just like dropping off cardboard kind of anywhere, anytime, but you can't get the fresh produce until you come on Saturday, because that's when the whole show happens on Saturday.
Yeah.
If that answers your question. But
Yeah.
There's
Awesome.
there's so many people reaching out that, oh, we got cardboard, I can give you a whole container. I'm like, yes, but no.
Need more shredders, yeah.
If all schools did it, if organizations did it, there's just so much work to be done.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I see that your project needs expansion real quick on this. I don't know. I live in a condo complex, and our garbage cans keep getting filled up with cardboard, things that are just really not supposed to be there. And I applaud you, and I think, you know, the best you can do is expand your project as much as you can.
Our system here tends to be dominated by the transfer stations. Because that's where the, you know, average duck in a pond ends up. And we really, it's kind of hit and miss.
Is there a system for the hotels and restaurants?
Not really.
So you could start there, right? Like they have that like every day, you know, that schools have it every day too. That's why I focus on the schools, because just on the schools alone, with all the supplies that come in, yeah. It's something, it's not we're not, hitting everything, but it's something.
Every little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay. Any further comment? Any further discussion?
I can share that,
I would
I'll
love,
share with you, yeah, the slide deck.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'll-
great.
I mean. Maybe we put it on the table for further discussion as to how we can. Either whether it goes through ordinance or
Contribute to it,
how do
yeah.
how do we figure out how the expansion?
Yeah.
Organization.
Well, of course,
works from our end.
Our cardboard person disappeared already.
Christine,
Yeah,
she was here.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
Here
gonna
and
have a
not.
meeting with her.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
we're connecting the dots.
Yeah,
We're just
okay, well,
like,
then we'll
we
hear
need
about it.
Support from the commission, like all
Okay.
facets, we need support, yeah, we're going to know. Yeah.
Mahalo.
All right, mahalo.
I'll see you later.
Aloha.
Thank you.
So we move on. Anybody need a break? Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay,
I'm gonna run out and put this on my car real quick.
Oh.
Well, we gotta take a recess. then.
I just need 5 minutes.
okay. Well, we'll take 5. Thank you. Stand by.
Do we need one of those for?
Coming up. Okay. So any further comment on the presentation? Add, subtract, we'll move on. Okay, item number 2. The general plan. Has anybody had an opportunity to dive into the general plan yet?
Just what
Yes.
they said, what was posted on our, in our folder.
You
I
didn't-
haven't looked through the
It's
entire
online?
general plan.
Yeah,
Yeah, just the one
Yeah.
section.
So I'm assuming this is the only thing they want us to comment on.
well, yeah, more or less. I mean, we are talking about specifically, the waste handling issues, so. And wastewater. I mean, again, leading off in Puna, we have all of these. What are now large lots, but they are all capable of being subdivided into much smaller pieces by the thousands. So, we've kind of sort of already had a discussion with them about it. When I say we, particularly Main Street is concerned about how this is gonna play out. So.
What are the concerns?
Well, I mean, to give you a, for instance, adjacent to Town, there is a subdivision, Nanavale. It is 5,000, 1/5 of an acre lots. No sewers, no water. But they've all been sold. Right? And how are you gonna fix it? And of course, I mean, just kind of icing on the cake. It sits on an almost solid basalt feature. That'll be fun. Yeah, get a
Just
line
have
in
to
there.
bring out their little chipper and keep chipping for days on end.
I can tell you all about it. My niece, back in 18, she had been out here for Christmas visiting. She and her mother bought, well, my niece and my great niece bought 2 lots in Nanavale. And they were planning on building houses. And of course, COVID came. And that whole project just kind of died on the, you know, but we'd already dug the hole for the septic tank. And the septic tank's been sitting there all this time. And I watched them hammer this thing out. And that times 5,000. And or you're gonna go up and down the roads to make it so you can connect up sewers. I mean. Wow.
So I have a question and a thought related to it. One would be what recommendations would we want to give? And in that light, I know there's been the working group, cesspool conversion working group, as dictated by the legislature.
Mhm.
And they came up with some very clear bills that I know at least the comprehensive bill died in committee. So looking at that, is that something that we, as a commission, study those bills a little closer? And is that part of our recommendation, for example, or
Well, I think
what would
that's,
be the work of this commission to give recommendation regarding this plan?
that's good. That is a good question. And I mean, and particularly given the variability of climate and terrain, you know, the possibility of actually putting sewer systems into some of these subdivisions that otherwise would require them. The doability. Have you made it basically impossible to financially accomplish that end? The way you've got it worded. So is the county or the state going to be buying them back? Reconsolidating? What's the plan? How do you? The reality of it, this is on paper, right? And the reality is solid blue rock. And what are you gonna do? So one or two as an offshoot of it is one thing. Doing 5,000 of them and laying a sewer line is another. So that's just one of the issues. At least, you know, for my district. So, and I'm sure everybody's gonna come, starting to look at it, you're gonna come up with your own constraints as to what you're gonna, to make it meet the law, and it is federal law. I mean, the county and the state is not doing it out of the grandness of their heart, you know, the EPA is leaning over them going, there's a fine out here somewhere if you don't get this done. Yes.
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm reading over this now. I didn't get a chance to read it before the meeting, but one of the things that is mentioned in this draft plan is just speaking to what you said, John, is that sewerage disposal system designs must be examined with the particular region in mind. And so, you know, Puna does have particular challenges because of the blue rock. There's a lot of blue rock, which is really it's really hard to break through. And I guess like my question is, yeah, is it being considered to put a sewage treatment plan or treatment plant in Puna? Because if that's the case, there would need to be multiple. You know, these subdivisions are really spread out. I mean, I'm thinking of the town I grew up in. It's, you know, 7 miles long by about a mile wide, and there's one sewage treatment plant for that town. But Puna is a lot bigger than that, and these subdivisions are spread apart. And seems to me like septic would be a more, I don't know, economical and efficient way to go. So I don't know. Are we making recommendations, I guess, like based on our districts, because that's what we're most you know, we're most familiar with? Like I'm most familiar with Lower Puna. I mean, maybe that's the way to think about this.
Well, I mean, of course, we're dealing with an entity that is an island-wide entity. In other words, this body, we kind of cover the whole island, coming from having representation from each of the districts. Yeah, it's kind of us from the district to carry the water. back to and get a discussion started on how are you going to, in reality, do these things? I mean, I was on the very first community development plan that the county ever did, which was for Puna. And we raised those issues back then. That was 20 years ago. And we've just kind of sailed along over it. And here it is now. Now we have the feds looking at us. And nobody's going to walk away from that. That's federal law, and they're no longer amused by the way the state, as an overall, has dealt with these issues. And we're a sore thumb sticking out. So
24D covers that. It talks about develop plans to improve, connect, or develop new wastewater systems in unserved urban coastal communities. So from what I understand, they want us to, from our perspective as a commission, I'm assuming they want us to just comment on what they have here and not necessarily propose brand new things that aren't on here, but just, you know.
well, I mean, from
'Cause
my
we could be at this for months trying to do this. I think. They
oh,
just want
no, but
a
I mean,
quick
what
overview.
we collectively know about the areas that we live in. Like I know Puna pretty well. I've been involved in the planning process for a very long time. So these things I already went through in the first, planning process that the county ever had to do that. We've been asking these questions for a very long time. We are going to get a wastewater system for Paho Village, and that's commercial primarily, right? But you got 5,000 1/5 of an acre lots here. You got 12,000 1 acre lots in Hawaiian Paradise Park. And then you go up the hill. And all of those what are large lots now are actually in Ag 1. The owners of those lots could subdivide them. They have the right to subdivide them. And they're going to be facing all of the same problems. And the wastewater treatment issue, you can only put so many septic systems in a place before you are going to end up being mandated to do an actual sewer district. So that's a Puna problem.
Is that more of an engineering question? Can it be done? And
There you go.
we need input from the engineers
Well-
rather than, say it can't be done.
Well, and that's kind of sort of what the reason I'm bringing it up here is we're going to carry this back up the hill and see what they really plan to do about it.
The department is also doing a comprehensive plan for Puna, or study, not plan, for the entire area. So hopefully in a year or two, they'll have some ideas for you.
Well, and I don't think they've got a year or two.
That's usually how long the studies are for,
Well,
but they're not going to act unless they have a study in hand with recommendations and suggestions.
well, I mean, this is raining all the way. They put it off long enough that Big Brother is now looking, and Big Brother is not happy.
As long as they don't have gang cesspools, the EPA won't say anything. That's all they're concerned with. The state on their own volition bans cesspools. So it's a state problem, not EPA federal problem. in
Well,
that
but
regard.
not dealing with a wastewater issue accommodating the federal law.
Well, I mean, yeah, they put stuff off they shouldn't have.
Yeah,
for 30, 40
exactly.
years, and they're trying to play catch up now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, is somebody planning on buying all these lots back? Reconsolidating them in some way? I mean,
That would hurt the county's pocket.
and the state, cause this all, have you ever read Land and Power in Hawaii?
Bits and pieces.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I mean, the range starts way further upstream.
So I have a question for pertaining to this. Would it be helpful to have someone come and give a brief on the legislation that was proposed from the cesspool working group, which I believe has like a lot of different, has some folks on there coming from the engineering side, and it's a pretty diverse working group, and
Mhm.
they've been working on it for 2 years, I believe, at least.
Have you seen a finished draft of it?
So first thing would be to distribute the bills, their bill recommendation and their final output, their study, their recommendations.
Yeah,
And then
I haven't seen that yet.
oh yeah, it's out,
Oh,
because
is it?
last legislative session, they had bills recommended to the legislature, so we can get that, we should get that, actually.
There was a presentation to council.
Okay,
Yeah. Cause I've kind of sort of asked around and never, I get the deer in the headlights look, but
no,
Okay.
no, it's available, it was presented to the legislature prior to last session, 2023 session.
okay.
I guess
So
I,
maybe we need to be updated, I think, on maybe rewatch the presentation to council, that was before January 2023.
Oh,
I'm assuming it was right.
that's like, I don't have a thesis.
Yeah, we probably should research and look up that and be updated on that, as well as their bill recommendations, and perhaps even a brief as to like what happened in the legislative session, or what part of those, I think it would be good just for our own due diligence to, then we can also make recommendations based on that, but we have a broader idea about it.
Mm-hmm,
I
yeah,
don't know.
Are you
That's-
making a motion?
you're going in the right direction.
So yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Does it include any, like, has there been analysis on technical feasibility of being able to do some of these? In the Blue Rock, is that, clearly there's an economic feasibility, but there's a technical feasibility.
Right.
And then in my mind, I'm looking at, thinking about like the cumulative impact, by 5,000 dischargers. And then another 12,000 dischargers, and has there been any like environmental study done on what is the cumulative impact of all that new stuff going into the environment? Because absent the risk assessment part of it, that's kind of my background, you really don't know how to target and frame. So I acknowledge I'm the new kid on the block, but I like to understand the whole picture before I start trying to noodle in on specifics. And
Well,
how does that pertain?
I
to the
can
rest
kind
of
of
it?
answer the question. The answer is no. And that's been deliberate. You don't ask questions to which you don't want an answer.
Well, and I spent a career cracking through.
So, like I say, we had to go to the feds to get a community development plan done. That's how far up the chain we had to go to make the county and the state comply with the federal requirements. I mean, we had 600 people screaming and yelling out in the parking lot because the council refused to pass the necessary legislation to look at the district as a whole and to say how this is going to work out. That's where we went. And there's been no any further work done on it since then. So this again, this is all coming down from the federal level, and that's why they're wound up about it. It sure wasn't us that kicked it off.
First time I've commented.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Kelly has her hand up too, but Kelly just sent us a link in the chat thing that there is work being done right now, and there is I'm gonna pull it up. There's a programmatic environmental impact statement that has been done. And so it seems like there is work that's being done. Kelly, I'm sure you can speak more to this, but there's, if you want to look at what's actually being done, just click on that link, and there's a whole lot of really helpful information here.
Is it, is that directed now? Of course, they're working on the wastewater system for the town of Pahoa.
Well, it's for Puna. It's a Puna feasibility study. So it's
For
for
the
the
whole
district
thing?
it's for the
Okay.
whole district of Puna. Yeah, and so there's maps on there. You can see, exactly, there's proposed sites for maybe Kelly, I don't know if you want to speak more to this because you're the one that's working on it.
Sure. So we've been working on two projects in the area, both the Pahoa wastewater feasibility and cost study, as well as the Puna District environmental EIS and facility plan. So I'm just going to speak to this later on the agenda, but just to keep it short, we're expecting the final facility plan to be complete in November. The EIS was just filed September 23rd and approved by the mayor. So I can speak to that more when we get to it on the agenda, but we reviewed, 20 different project alternatives in Puna. So basically every option under the sun was evaluated, from the county does nothing and everybody goes IWS, to centralized treatment, to, bringing the water to Hilo, or mix and match in between. So you can review the facility plan on the project website. We're wrapping up our public comments now. We just had our last community engagement this weekend at Revitalized Puna. But I can answer any of your questions when we get there on the agenda.
Okay. All right, apparently I missed something. Thank you.
So I have a comment for 2415 that talks about incentivizing the collection of rainfall. That's the last thing you want to do, is have a bunch of rain barrels everywhere. My neighbor did that, and we've had problems with mosquitoes ever since. I know they say there's things you can do, but to try and abate that, but it didn't make any difference. Other than using chemicals, and most people, if they're collecting rainwater, aren't gonna use chemicals, so I don't think that's a good thing to put in there, so that's my comment for the draft.
You can do covered catchments, so I don't think it should be removed.
Sorry, Lee, where was that? What were you looking at exactly?
Draft 24.15, one water recycle, no, one water. What section is that?
Yeah, that's in the back.
It's on wastewater.
It's on the
It's on the back page.
I was in one of the, okay, I'll have to find that.
Encourage and incentivize collection of rainwater.
Maybe we should amend it so that it ensures that there is no pest problems with the catchment.
I mean, are we supposed to make recommendations? I mean, I don't understand
That's up to
what
the
we're supposed to
Commission,
do.
if someone wants to make a motion, then so we'll form with that.
Yeah, somebody make me a motion.
So I didn't understand what you were saying.
You can collect water without having mosquitoes and that, or any other type of insects and contamination into the catchment. So you can do that. It is possible without causing a mosquito problem.
So
Yeah, I agree with that. I
do
mean,
that.
that's what I do. But it has to be treated, and that's up to individuals, to do that, to treat their catchment tanks, to cover it. I mean, we have 2 coverings on our catchment tank to make sure that nothing gets in. And so I mean, the thing is, like, and I mean, I imagine it's like this maybe where you are a little bit, Lee, but again, like in Lower Puna, it is I mean, we are going through a crazy drought right now. It's so dry down here. And so any little bit of water that people can collect for themselves to use if they're growing food or for whatever I think is actually really important. Because we don't have access to, that's our only water source. We don't have access to county water. So people have to be able to collect water. But again, yes, I mean, I don't know how you enforce people properly treating their catchment tanks. But yeah, I think that's important.
Yep.
Kyla has a comment.
I didn't hear a motion, so.
Do we have another
I'm
hand
not
up?
sure how to make the motion.
So I would maybe just suggest that perhaps if we defer this to the next month's meeting and people come with their written recommendations so that the commissioners can go around and discuss individually what their recommendations are and the reasons. So then by the end, there's one document with the recommendations that the commissioners are okay with that's going to be sent to the planning department. And also, I don't know if you guys know, but there's been 2 public testimony that's been submitted where people are asking the commission to provide more time for people to come in and give public input on the recommendations to the general plan with respect to wastewater and solid waste. I'm not sure if either of you guys have seen that yet. So I guess maybe at this point, what I'm suggesting is probably would be prudent to defer this to the next month's meeting where people will have an opportunity to come with their written recommendations to share it with the other commissioners.
Yeah, I support that. I mean, but I don't think we're quite done with the discussion at the moment. I mean, Puna runs from sea level to 4,000 feet. You basically have 4 climates. You have 4 areas of level of rainfall. So it's not homogeneous. You have to deal with it more than anything else by its elevation. By the time you get up to the 4,000 foot level, I mean, it's practically a desert. It gets 1/10 the rainfall that I get down at sea level. So the complexity of it is what I'm getting to. Even though it's all in one district, it is all in one district. So you're not going to come up with an answer that's a fix-all. Each one of these segments are going to have to be looked at. The reason I know that is that the university many years ago did a study of the and theirs was agriculturally aimed. They wanted to know what you could grow and where you could grow it. And basically all of the climates were there in Puna. Yeah, so
Can we have 2 hands up?
Yeah.
go ahead.
I agree with Melissa that maybe we should table this until we can get more input from the public. And other people who are concerned about this.
Do we need a motion to table?
I agree. Actually, Kara was the one to say that, but you read my mind.
So, yeah, motion to table, I think I agree with also needing to put our recommendations in writing. So that we can know about them a little bit ahead of time so that we can then move forward.
Yeah,
So motion to table.
Do you recognize the motion?
I recommend.
Do you recognize?
Okay, she just made a motion.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Okay.
second.
So I have a
Mr. Carlos
second.
seconds.
Any further discussion?
Is that for both the solid waste and the wastewater?
Hmm?
Is that for both solid waste and wastewater?
For both fees.
Yes.
I think it can be for both solid waste and wastewater since the agenda item encompasses both.
Okay. If that's
Yes.
I mean, if it were left up to me, I'd separate them, but. Okay. So, all those in favor?
I
6 ayes, Chair.
Thank you.
8.3,
So did we cover, well, basically,
Sure, what's the next item on the agenda? 8.3.
yeah, well, I'm just making sure we covered everything that was on this.
What's supposed, I gotta go to the next.
Hmm?
We gotta go to the next one.
Yeah.
What's the postpone test?
Solid waste management,
8.3.
Recommendation
for ordinance,
for solid waste operational study regarding surcharge, disposal surcharge at point of purchase.
oh, okay, that was my idea,
Oh, this is your choice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, basically, well, to start with, we don't know what's coming. It comes in, it's sold, and it's out there, and on any given day of any given month, you don't know what the volume is going to be, because there's no heads up on it. There's no telling what the costs are going to be. The costs can run up and down. And two things, if you collected the disposal fee at the point of purchase, you'd know what was coming down the pipe, because it's going to end up, being disposed of at some point. And we'd also have, you're no longer depending upon the property tax to fund it. So, and I guess the kind of, for me, the icing on the cake is that you're responsible as the purchaser for its disposal. You pay for yours, I'll pay for mine.
Are you suggesting sort of like a high five sort of
Yeah.
thing for what, for plastics?
Well, but I
that's-
mean, basically, you're gonna end up with it being across the board. I mean, you buy something, it's gonna end up in the waste system, and you're going to pay for its disposal at the point of purchase. Yeah.
I think this is almost the opposite of the extended producer responsibility, which is later at 0.5.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that I would like to see it pushed to business models that are producing waste and having those business models that are profiting off of that, them pay rather than the consumer. So point of purchase is gonna be the consumer paying for it,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, an EPR that pushes it to like we're charging producers
Well,
for the amount of waste that their business model produces.
you're
a little bit
you're
different.
you're getting it at point of sale. You're collecting the disposal fee at the point of sale
From the
from the
consumer.
retailer.
from the retailer
Yeah.
as opposed to the producer.
Yeah.
Okay. I would push back on that and push it to the consumer. I would push back on the retailer because that's gonna, that hurts our businesses and our
Well, but
retailers, as
it's
opposed to the business model that's making their global market share is enormous. As opposed to putting it at the retailer and the consumer level.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's the producer that's producing it in the first place. Therefore, they should be responsible also for the disposal of it. And that's the whole idea behind extended producer responsibility.
How would that work? I mean, would you have the producer who produces shampoo bottles or something like that? And we pay for it, for the disposal? I mean,
So,
there would be a
well,
lot of,
we can get to the details when we get to 0.5,
okay.
but I just was using that as a kind of cross-reference because it's a similar idea, I think,
Yeah.
except putting it more downstream to the consumer or the retailer as opposed to pushing it upstream to the producer.
I suppose what I liked about it is I get to make the choice. In other words, I come up to the cash register and I can purchase product A or product B. And the disposal fee on product B is less than A.
Why would it be less? It should be across the board the same.
Well, but I mean, that depends upon the components of the manufacturer, what it's gonna cost to dispose. You can have similar products that are made of different components of different things that are easier or harder to dispose of.
And you're talking about a nightmare that I don't think anyone's capable of figuring that out.
Well, I mean,
What you're
the
referring-
manufacturer will certainly figure it out quickly enough. Yeah.
'Cause the way the state does it usually is like, they just make the business, like for TVs, I think, they make them pay a flat fee.
Yep.
In order to sell in the state.
Yeah.
And so somehow that's supposed to be used towards disposing of the TVs. Well, if you're trying to figure out, okay, this is made of plastic, this is mostly glass, so you're gonna have different charges for disposing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's too complicated to keep track of and figure out on the, I don't know who would be in charge of that, state, county? That would be, and then you're reliant upon the manufacturer, but anyways, the county, lawyer said that we can't do this. That this is something the legislature would have to enact. We can't do it from the county point of view. So the only thing you could do would be to make a recommendation to our, I guess, House or Senate representative or
State,
and to
yeah, state
introduce it.
legislature. Yeah.
That's what we could do. But we can't, I don't see a purpose in discussing this
Well, I mean,
in depth.
the point is that I suppose what I was aiming at is giving us a point at which we could make some references to what it's actually costing us. In other words, if I get some choice at the point of purchase of A and B, and I know that A is less expensive than B, then as the purchaser, because I end up paying for it no matter what. Yeah, I mean, so how do we get, I mean, rhetorically, I'll ask the question, how do we get there? In other words, the consumer needs to be in the loop. Right? I mean, we're gonna pay to get the dispose of it when we're done. And obviously, we want to pay the least amount when that happens. How do we get there? This was a shot at it.
I can't answer that without going into number 5.
Okay, go.
So I don't know if we motion to merge those two or just wait until we get to number 5, but I can address that when we talk about EPR,
Okay,
just because.
is that good with everybody?
That's fine. Okay,
Okay, got a thumbs up? Go for it. Yeah, they're good.
Okay. Address it now?
Yeah,
Or we're gonna,
yeah.
we have
we should-
number 4 first,
Oh, okay.
so. So, unless, I don't know.
Okay, well-
Probably better if we just try to stick to the agenda and move through number 4 and then we can get to number 5.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going table number 3 or?
Is there, sorry, was there a question for me or?
I'm wondering, do we table number 3 or?
I think we could finish this discussion on number 3 if there's anything left.
That's for the legislature. That's the legislature.
Yeah, but it's extended producer responsibility, so he's asking what's the solution, and I think it's. Like, I can't address the solution of incentivizing producers based on charging them per pound without. Well, anyway, the answer to your question is that, like,
Mhm.
for in my understanding of it is. The whole point of an extended producer responsibility is pushing it to incentivize and engage the producers based on maybe a charge per weight or volume of waste that they produce that now our municipalities are tasked with, the cost of disposal. So pushing that to them is incentivizes them to do reuse and refill truly compostable
Mhm.
know, packaging, which then the consumer still has a choice
That's right,
and the retailer still has a choice as to what they provide, but if we're basically the consumer then ends up dictating or because of the incentivization of cost per volume, especially in like if we just start with fast moving consumer goods, for example, then the producer has the burden and engagement of paying that cost. We still, as consumers, have a choice,
yeah,
but it's also pushing it more upstream so that they're incentivized to send less volume to our landfills.
right,
So they're gonna change, like, instead of buying a whole toothbrush, they're gonna figure out how to produce it where you just buy the head. So we don't have 1,000 toothbrushes, going, daily into the landfill, we just have the head. Or dental floss, they're gonna be incentivized to sell them just in the pack with the floss, and you reuse the container because they open up anyway, you put them in, those kinds of things. So so that's less volume. And then the packaging that all that comes in doesn't have to be in like these triple giant plastic packages, like when you see the Colgate at Costco, when it comes in all this packaging, it'll be just much more consolidated and wrapped with a tight piece of cardboard or paper that we can then turn into soil versus to the landfill. And then they are charged less, but it incentivizes them to engineer it in a way that is responsive to those needs that we live on an island and we need to reduce our landfilling.
you blew me right out of the water.
Okay, sorry.
I love it, I love it, yeah, all right.
So, but there's no way to answer that question without talking about Senate Bill 1458.
Okay,
I'm done.
thank you. Hey, you got there and far better than I did.
Maybe we don't have to talk about number 5 anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead, Chair. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
so are we, did she settle it or not? So,
I'm not quite sure. I'm still a little confused.
Okay.
I'm
If you
sorry.
don't have a recommendation to the study, then. If you don't do not, then. then
So we move on. Move on to number 4.
okay. They're good with the
That's
group?
fine.
Okay,
Okay, number 4.
number 4.
Call it, Chair.
This
Call it.
other one of you, John.
Hmm?
This is yours too.
Call it. Recommendations for operational study.
Of-
Saddle Road closing.
Study
Hmm?
regarding
Saddle Road
solid waste
closes.
hauling consistent contingency plans during the closure of Daniel A. Enoy Highway.
I'm still working on what she just did.
Sorry?
My brain's still working. Where am I here?
Number 4, recommendation, if any, for the solid waste operational study regarding solid waste hauling contingency plans. during
Oh,
the
for
closure
the
of Daniel
trucking.
K.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're looking at the diesel mechanic.
Mm.
4,000 feet up and 4,000 feet down and then 4,000 feet up again. Day in, day out. They build trucks to do that, but we don't own any of them. So how do you want to do that?
And what's the contingency if it closes? Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
closes out, it's not an if. I mean, we had a little example here with, Mauna Loa just kind of reached out and gave you a little touch on the shoulder. Oh, by the way, I'm still alive and well, and this road could be closed in 20 seconds. Yeah. So we better have a really solid plan B.
How long is it planned to be closed? I mean, what period of time are we looking at? I have no idea of what the plans are for.
Well, I mean, if what we're talking about is if you were unable to truck it over Saddle Road, right? That means the trucks have to go all the way to the other end of the island and then come back to empty. If they can't get over the saddle. And you're going to add, I don't know exactly how many miles, but probably 50 to 60 in any given run. So, machinery and time and fuel and that'll add up, boy, quicker than you can ever wanna think about. So,
There's only two ways they can go, up or, I mean, one way or the other, that's it.
Yeah. No,
So I don't see,
well,
I
I mean,
mean, what is it asking for recommendations? I don't understand.
To study it and find a solution.
well,
Isn't there
yeah, I
already a
mean,
study?
the other is that we just accept the fact that we're going to be shipping it off island, which may be less expensive. I mean, they're still running the incinerator on Oahu.
Yeah, but, as far as I am still aware that Hawaii, Honolulu City and County does not allow in their ordinance
yeah.
to accept waste from other islands.
Right,
So
They
we're
put
not-
they
we
put that
wouldn't- we
in there,
wouldn't be able
so.
to ship it.
I thought they did. I'm sorry to interject, but because there was that group that we had a presentation from the group of people that were doing the beach cleanups in Ka'u, like that one area, and they I remember they mentioned that they do send some of those fishing nets and whatnot to Honolulu to process it. So I'm not sure if that's entirely true. And also because they often don't meet their quota on in fact they're often fined. The county of Oahu is fined because they don't meet the quota of garbage. I'm not at all for incineration, but I mean it exists, and so I'm just like questioning whether or not that's true, that they can't accept, waste from other islands. I don't think that's true.
Yes, they have a law they passed that they will not accept it, and I've talked to one of them, and they're not interested in changing it. And that's
Was that
where
recent? Is that a recent? Oh, okay. All right.
It's also trying to woo them to try and get them to change their mind, and processing the nets is different than incinerating at H power. So they might be shipping it to the mainland to take care of. I think that's what they do. So.
I thought they said they shipped it to Oahu and it was processed by H
They
Power.
might go to Oahu and then they process it and ship it to the mainland.
Yeah, maybe maybe that's how it goes.
So I guess my question is, okay, Saddle Road gets closed, is some of this already being considered in emergency management planning and stuff like that? I'd like to know what they envision.
Right.
And how they,
Well, I mean,
how they would propose, because of all that increased traffic going through communities and all that. So in emergency planning, I think it would be good for us to understand that before we proceed with any thought about a recommendation. I would like to understand more.
yeah, well, but I mean, the given the roads, the state highways that here are in such poor condition, I mean, it's just insult to injury. Any way you go that doesn't take it away, doesn't ship it off the island, trying to corkscrew it around would be, that would be ridiculous.
Are you advocating for a dump in the Puna area?
No, what I'm advocating for is we better figure out, well, first off, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna, agree with Gonzalo, that might be just the purview of emergency planning. And that, maybe we should, make a recommendation to that group, to have a plan for the solid waste removal of the east side if the Daniel K. Highway closes. And we'll take it off our table and put it on theirs.
Well, it kind of seems to me that's where it belongs, but
Yeah.
that's why.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
As far as I understand, we don't have the jurisdiction to recommend to the environmental management, the emergency management, but I think what I would concur with Commissioner Garcia that they probably already do have something, and if that's the case, our due diligence would be to look that up and get information on that to see where that's at before we make an additional recommendation for us, another study. Because I'm imagining that
You would
it's
think,
part of the emergency, and then if not, then that's a whole nother task at hand.
You might already have something drawn up because of the Mauna Loa eruption, yeah.
I mean, I did sort of ask as part of that. And I didn't get anything back about it. If there was already a plan B or plan C.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll put it
So
out
it'd
there.
be as simple as asking emergency management for, and looking into their protocols.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
to inform our next steps.
well, I mean, I don't think we're.
The director.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Director Ramsey, yeah, so
Yeah.
of course, of
Yeah,
course.
I mean, we did kind of get the the trucking idea, but when the trucking idea goes down, which it certainly, the possibility is certainly there, so what is plan C? Well,
I bet you Ramsey can address that.
But we need a recommendation.
Hmm?
Do we need a recommendation to do that? Is that how that works?
Well, I guess we're gonna get
Request
a
additional
director's
information.
report here, aren't we? Mello?
Ramsey, they're looking for you.
Hmm? Okay. Well, I mean, we'll let that go and hopefully we'll drum up the director because he's supposed to give us a report, right? Okay. So we'll, for the moment, move on.
Sorry,
What-
guys.
Director
Oh.
Ramsey.
John, I'm here.
Okay.
I was multitasking. My ears were in two different directions, but are you guys to number 5 already?
No, or
No, we kind of got stuck on this, as part of the part of purchase idea, collecting the disposal fee at the point of purchase. But we kind of got wound around what happens when the highway gets closed. And what are we gonna do with it then? Because obviously the loop around is not gonna could not be sustainable.
That is true, and we went through that when we had the last eruption last year. It created some challenges because the idea is the lava was reaching Saddle Highway and what we need to do next.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of looked at it, talked to the Department of Health to see how many days we could be able to retain waste on the west side, on the east side. Was it possible to stop pot and waste on the closed landfill? There's certain areas there we were thinking about maybe just start taking waste once we control the issue, we haul it back to the west side. That was, thought of as emergency under the governor emergency proclamation. Maybe he could allow us to pretty much create a temporary landfill site. And Maui's going through the same thing, I believe. They got emergency proclamation to allow them, I think, to do that because their current landfill may not have enough capacity or certain ways. So, we entertained that, the idea. So we were ready in case of Saddle Road get interrupted. And that's why we're doing the operational study as well, with the idea of, moving forward with better planning, what is the best way to analyze our current solid waste operational system? But in the meantime, before we get there, it's going to take some time even to, if the preferred option was to put a side of landfill on the east side, it's going to take some time. But in the meantime, we have to have plan A, B, and C, as you guys have mentioned.
Well, and all those
Yeah.
containers go back empty.
What is it? I'm sorry, John.
All those containers that go back empty.
I know we have talked, former Senator Ocasio, you know, what would it take? What type of legislation would it take? This is time to write and submit any legislation that you guys foresee. If we need to legislatively ask the city and county to amend their county ordinances, or you could make it a statewide legislation to allow inter-counties exchange of wastes based on availability of facilities and for emergency needs as well. Maybe that's time to start drafting some legislation and figure out who's willing to sponsor legislation. It's from a statewide issues. The state acknowledged there's challenge when it comes to solid waste statewide, you know, between city and county. I mean, city and county, you got Kauai, you got Maui, and we got us, you know. We probably the only county got the biggest span life, the largest space in our landfill so far, but 20 years to 25, it's not large because it could come quick with the growth that we have been seeing on the east side. Therefore, you know, my comment to the state is they need to figure a state solution. Even if they're willing to take edge power under the state, and I said it many times, it kind of makes sense to me because it's the only largest facility in the state. So it's going to be a lot of teamwork need to be done between counties to be able to allow the state to jump in, either assist or take the lead, because regulation is being very, very stringent even about siting a landfill, with the idea they're making it so hard to landfill. So if that's true, you know, every county is going to be driven to, technically, you cannot just go to zero waste overnight. And I don't think zero waste is ever going to happen because you're always going to have residual. So the idea is trying to reduce, eliminate waste. And that's where we start. So through diversion, recycling, and reduction. So, and I think that's the way to do it. And a lot of people trying, you know, with legislation and with public education. Hopefully with this proposed operational study that we're working on, we're going to have different venues of implementation plans, hopefully once it comes. So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of things are going in the same time, but you know, given that we are at the end of the year and it's the time to propose any legislation, so I urge you, former Senator Ocasio, you had the experience in that, maybe you could lead the team of recommendation on you know, the process, and maybe you all could come up with a few ideas, and maybe we could find somebody that willing to sponsor them.
Any thoughts?
Director, not necessarily responding to exactly what you said, but are you aware of emergency management having a specific plan around it? Our waste issue if Daniel Inouye gets closed?
I think if the governor were make it like emergency proclamation, which probably he will, we, like I said, we could handle the east side waste without going through the Saddle Road. But eventually, once it opens, we need to do a clean closure of the area that we utilize to bring it back to the west side. So it'll be double, triple handling the waste. But if we have to, that's probably one of the solution I would be recommending. If we cannot go over the highway.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, this needs to say something.
I just had a question. Is there a proposed collection site on the east side where the waste could be collected, I guess, and stored until it could be brought over to the west side?
I think the area where the old Hilo landfill, we have some areas that it's been excavated as some like basins. We could utilize them temporary. And we need to do the calculation to see how much they could hold. And probably we need to line these areas as well. So it'll be a temporary basis if they allow us that, through the emergency proclamation. I would imagine, to me that'll be the plan, probably be the quickest plan to implement. And eventually like I said, we're gonna end up excavating it and hauling it back to the west side. It's gonna be costly, but we don't have any other options. Unless, like I said, if they're willing to ship it in containers and send it to city and county. But remember, you cannot just put waste in containers because you're going to contaminate the containers.
Yeah.
So the idea is you have to have a baler. So, and we don't have one. So we're not ready for one unless we know for sure city and county will take it. So what you do is you bring these balers and you compact the waste and you bring it like a sausage. It's literally 40-foot container size waste wrapped in plastic. And that's what goes inside the Matson container. So to prevent any leachate from leaching into the container and creating any contamination. And we don't have that. We don't have the equipment. But eventually, if the state decided, yes, probably the best way is to go to waste to energy statewide. And just to remind you, this is standard practice all over Europe. They convert their waste to energy through incineration. So then we have to invest, each county have to invest into these compactors that could create a waste sausage that could fit into a container. And it goes to its power for incineration. So the idea is just to allow empty containers to start filling with waste. Probably you're gonna have a challenge because it just, these containers are not watertight and waste will create leachate. So we just need to check all the boxes.
Well, and I think we could probably, on the upfront end, we could do a lot better on diversion to begin with. That's something that just watching what's happening at, the transfer stations here where I am, we could do a better job. if we
Yeah,
really
hopefully
want-
with the public education allow people to start being less users, I guess, control it at the source. You know, right now we have these transfer station open 7 days a week, so it's unlimited amount of garbage from each household. You know, curbside collection allows for behavior control at the source, where people now understand I got one container. I need to be able to fit my garbage bags into these container once a week. How would I go about controlling that? So when you go to the store, you think, do I need to buy this huge box or versus just buy few individual items to get me through the week rather than getting a whole box and you end up throwing it and the food in it. So it's retraining the behavior and controlling and reprogramming the human mind of reduction. How would you reduce waste? You know, and the only way to do it at the source so people could change their behavior.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of different approaches to go to, but we're gonna have to pick something and start moving in that direction. I mean, you know, at this point, we don't have a plan.
Well, big in the idea of people reducing, I think just through public education, you know, this could start today. You know, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, but we have no plan.
Well, just you know, hopefully that operational analysis plan will come out soon as the consultant finalizes it. But like I said, in the meantime, you know, talk to your neighbor, have your neighbor talk to their neighbor. You know, it's the waste reduction through communication and awarenesses, right? We need to make the people aware of the ramification of not thinking about waste reduction.
Well, you know, when we did the design for the transfer station in going into my Cal, yeah. I mean, we did initially do all of these things. And of course, in the end, there was a change in administration and those elements were never added to the transfer station. So,
yeah, I mean, you know, it's amazing. You know, people still demanding more hours and more days at certain transfer station. I mean, that kind of defeat the whole purpose of going to zero waste and also reducing the waste. So something's going to give, something is going to take, and we know we're not going to be able to satisfy 100% of the population, but at least environmentally we need to be custodians of our environment. Kiera, I see your hands.
Yeah, so we've strayed kind of away from the agenda item, which was to provide recommendations on waste hauling contingency plans. So I'm just trying to reel us in here. If there's going to be recommendations made on this, or we're going to move on to the next item, because I see that the director has a lot to give us as well with his report.
Thank you, Kiera.
well, I mean, the only thing I can add to it is that the components that were left out of the KL transfer station were intended to reduce through reuse a lot of the waste that goes through that facility, because those
Yeah, like
elements
Kiera said, John, I mean, you guys could sit together and submit recommendations. We could take that recommendation and include it in our operational study as well. I think that's the reason I think we've been requesting this information, so you guys be part of that operational study, because through what you guys gonna advise, we need to make sure that get funneled down to our consultants so they could make it part of the study as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
We don't
have
want to
go-
leave you out, so you guys are stakeholders. And that's why there's requests for 6 different recommendations and maybe more. Because we
Yeah.
try to, like I said, the operational study is very important, so we need you guys to be part of it.
No, we're, we're planning on it. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, well, have we beat that one to death?
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Here, call up the next item.
Yep. What's next? I'm looking. Well, we're not gonna have any more discussion on the solid waste management plan because it's being worked on, right? So, do we have anything more in that you looked at? And there's anything more that anybody would like to add to that? At the moment?
That one's tabled, we're gonna come back with written recommendations and then decide what to put forth as a group based on those written recommendations. We'll be just reading.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's inevitably what's gotta happen. Yeah,
Can I say something?
sure.
Or is it the recommendation? What is that? Can I just kind of say something?
Are you testifying?
Is that a question?
Yeah, we can see
You would
your.
be testifying,
your 3 minutes.
here.
Okay,
Yep.
maybe testify.
Can you give 3 minutes? So,
So just a little recommendations. I am from Hawaii. I noticed that in the plan it said landfill is to expand 100 years. Oahu has always said they'll expand to that effect. But almost every 10 years, it comes up on the news that the landfill is closing. And we gotta file for an extension. Based on what I've seen in the landfill and with the population growth,
Yeah, talk about it.
it's with the population growth that's continuously coming into Hawaii. I see the volume of trash increasing. So I don't think that 100 years is an accurate number. Having alternate plans in place to fix, or not fix that, but to remedy that problem, I believe, and I've been a strong advocate, is the waste to energy process. I understand the furnaces are expensive, our rubbish doesn't meet the data or the volume to make furnaces. But we can have engineer smaller furnaces, perhaps one on Kilo side, one on Kona side. So you have that, if any of the roads go down, we have that capability in our pocket to keep the operations moving forward. I don't know what the governor's plan was. He paid $50 million to this group of new people that supposedly supposed to remedy our problems with trash and cook the rubbish underground to create methane and energy to collect that. I think we're in a process moving forward with that now. So I don't know, as far as reducing, or like a group of people that was here earlier, it's almost like a lifestyle. It's because
It is a lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle that
Yeah.
we have to correct. That's the biggest part. We're the biggest waste consuming population right now, especially America. And then us being on an island. everything shipped in, shipped out, everything is double that, triple that. So a lot of it has to do with the manufacturer's responsibility, consumer's
Mhm.
responsibility. And groups like this has to bring out the artisans in the people to really reuse these things. You know, I would,
You summarize.
okay, so just was thinking, educating the kids because they're passionate. They're the best sellers. If you can teach the kids, that's the next generation's coming up because I see this generation right now, they don't care.
No.
They expect the Department of Environmental Management to do the sorting, the cleaning of their rubbish, to process their rubbish in the proper way, because they give it to us wrong. You know, so I think just working on groups like this, promoting groups like this to help reduce and divert reusable resources out of that would be a great big help. That's my something.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that takes us full circle, like with the transfer station in Cal, that those elements were never completed.
Mhm.
It was in the design of the transfer station. But the next administration, nah, not gonna fund it,
Right.
and that's where it died.
But they say we're at full capacity right now, but under Harry Kim's administration, we had more green waste pickups, we had plastic recyclables, we had other resources, recycling programs available.
Yeah.
But I think we're at like at 50 capacity, in my opinion. We're only operating
I'm
at.
not gonna argue with it. Any suggestions on where we take it?
Take what?
Well, I mean, how do we,
Where are we?
how do we close the loop?
We're
For next item.
5.5.
Yeah, but I mean, does that contribute to closing the loop?
5.5 does.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Then, I think, only my thoughts.
Oh, no, I'll take help wherever I can get it.
So I have a recommendation for our commission to really look at Senate Bill 1458, which was introduced in the 2023. A very similar bill was, I want to say Senate Bill 2499, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I will look at that number up actually, because I think that's wrong. But anyway, we'll go with Senate Bill 1458, 2023. The previous year, a similar bill went to conference committee and did not pass out of conference committee. It is also, it's a biennium, so the bill technically is still able to be heard in committees. And it's an extended producer responsibility bill that addresses, like I said earlier, it's about addressing fast moving consumer goods. And it has a, so I don't know if you folks were able to look at that in the footnotes for our agenda, but my recommendation is that we look to that, and if we haven't have enough time to study that as individual commissioners to have a discussion, that we do so, and we make a recommendation next meeting, motion to support this in the legislature moving forward on similar idea of what Director Ramsey had said in asking for legislation for solutions.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we've had enough time to discuss it, and if not, we can table it, but I would really like us to look at the language from that and the ideas behind extended producer responsibility and our own due diligence so that we can have a robust discussion.
I think I've seen that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was only about a paragraph or so, in the discussion of SB 1458, so what was it designed to do was to actually have people who are retailers who are producing plastic or
Okay.
packaging or
So it's about packaging. But it's that it engages the legislation engages the top 20 producers of fast moving consumer goods by volume imported. And then there's a fee that comes in with the amount based on the amount of weight, which they already know because it's all based on shipping. And these are producers who are already, many of which are engaged at the UN level of a commitment to reducing their global their plastic production and reducing plastic in our waste stream. So and the fines and the fees would definitely go, they would go into setting up reuse and reuse, recycle, mostly reuse and compost in our communities. It would also help pay for a needs assessment, because every island has different needs, every even locale within our island particularly has different needs. And so to do a needs assessment as to what kind of infrastructure would be set up based on that in order to divert and reduce our municipal solid waste.
So, what is a producer? Which
Like Danone, Mars, Nestle, like these big corporations that are fast moving consumer goods. So we're talking about things like, hair care, toothpaste.
Okay.
Yeah, as a place to start. Obviously, we can put on our agenda other things, construction and
I can see how construction would really reduce the amount of waste,
Yeah,
because then they would be more concerned about only providing the amount that's necessary for a project.
So C&D would be a whole separate section. This particular Senate bill only addresses fast moving consumer goods. And so if commissioners have not looked at that, I would really encourage that. And I will also, maybe I can ask Peter to send out the bill number from the previous year, because it's very similar, but you could look up the testimony and the committee reports and things like that to see, what the input was from different stakeholders in the industry.
Well, of course, that brings us back to the KL transfer station where the receiving end isn't there.
Well, we would provide funds for that sort of thing, right?
Right. So that's part of it, is that that funding would be earmarked specifically for setting up reuse in our communities.
Well, it's back then, what we were planning on collecting actually had an over-the-counter value. People would buy it.
But would it be used for disposing the product?
The idea would be that it would be used to set up reuse and refill, so that we're going towards and that the producers of fast moving consumer goods that are creating the waste packaging would be incentivized to reduce their packaging waste volume, or pay for reuse and compost, but let's say reuse, refill, even if we just focus on that. So that the consumer then has an opportunity in our community to either choose, because we don't have a choice.
Yes.
If you go to the store and this is cheaper and that's all we have is all plastic bottles for our laundry detergent, there's no choice. But if you have a choice to go to a bulk bin and refill your own, because the infrastructure has been set up by Danone, by these larger fast moving consumer producers, then we have an option. But just like Director was talking about, there is no option. Or very little. You have one store you can go to do refill, but it's very expensive. So if they're paying for the infrastructure, in theory, it gets kicked up to them and their business models that are having larger profits, versus on the lower end, which we don't have a solution. So they'll be setting up reuse systems in our community
Well,
with that money,
and that's what,
in theory.
that's what the point of purchase thing was, to collect the money to build the facilities
Right.
to do that, you
Right.
know.
But this just pushes
so-
it upstream just a little bit more
Yeah,
and gives an opportunity to choose.
Yeah, that's,
And this
Sorry,
is
in that-
also through Europe, I mean, Director mentioned Europe in terms of waste to energy, but also Europe. This is a very common practice, they have
Practice, yeah.
EPR set up, Canada as well. I mean, these producers know it's coming, and oftentimes they set aside a lot of their advertising. You know, and their marketing for this kind of thing,
to promote it, yeah.
because they know it's coming.
Really need, bulk distribution centers in our island. It's just too much waste that's going in the individual package. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, and you
So,
can't.
I would encourage the commissioners to please look into this deeper so that we can have perhaps we can have a motion to recommend this, supporting for the DEM, and, you know, maybe our council we can recommend a resolution for them to support it if that's something that the commissioners agree on.
So my thought is I'd like some more time on,
Yes.
again, I'm the new kid on the
Yeah,
block, so
yeah.
I'd love to be able to table this till
Yes.
next. I promise I'll come back with my thoughts.
Yay, okay, so I'm okay with tabling. Do we need a motion to table? But I don't wanna, but Chair,
Does it have a
by all
second?
means.
Is there a motion? There's a motion to table? I didn't hear it.
I'll make the motion to table this item until our November.
All those in favor?
Sorry, second was,
Thanks, guys.
discussion?
Hearing no discussion? All those in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
Aye, aye.
All right,
5-6.
okay,
Chair would like me to read it for you? This one?
sure.
Recommendation, so we're on 5-6, recommendation to the county to adopt a policy on waste management, reduction, and or landfill diversion regarding the film industry. So that was distributed in the packet, and I think, we had one testifier from Recycle Hawaii who spoke to it.
Mhm.
And just recommending whether they can do it within their current rules, or whether we need to, you know, ask them to pass an ordinance. But for them to apply a waste management as part of the permit process. I would like to personally add that also, which wasn't mentioned, I would concur with Recycle Hawaii's testimony, but also add that there's a construction and demolition aspect to it as well, because a lot of times they do sets. She was more referring, if I understand her testimony correctly, about the day-to-day usage and such, but I know a lot of times they do large sets and such. And so same thing would apply. I would think that we would include a waste plan for those materials as well. You know, if they have to put up a privacy screen, for example, and they use plyboard, that plyboard then gets repurposed in the community, and that's part of the plan when they do the permitting.
Want to make that amendment?
Yes.
But the county-
Well, yeah,
But the county bans construction or demolition in the landfill, so they already have to have an alternative for that.
but again, is it in, I guess the recommendation is to have the film industry, when they're coming for their permit, include a waste management plan that focuses on landfill diversion, waste reduction, so going to either zero waste or waste reduction, but they have to have a plan of how they are addressing their waste stream and reduction or diversion or reuse.
Right.
Otherwise, you just wanna know how they're going to treat their. You wanna add to the permit a plan for how they treat their, I guess, waste.
Yeah, for example, do they have water jugs, or are they giving away single-use plastic water bottles? And that itself will create a lot of waste versus if they have a system set up, and so they need to address that in their permit process. How are they addressing their waste production on set and with set?
So it sounds like it's putting in the permit some requirement for a comprehensive waste management plan.
Yes,
That
Do any
I
of the
could,
other
I could
islands
wholly
have?
endorse that.
awesome, yeah. And so I think this ordinance, we would recommend to the council, and maybe corp council, you might jump in here if I'm wrong. Because I am still learning this process, but that the EMC would recommend to the council to draft an ordinance based on this, and we would give them some ideas and some language, but ultimately that it would be similar to the one that we just went through with Georgine, where we're recommending to them, and then they would go through the details of what this looks like.
So for the one you're talking about with Georgine, did that go to the DEM director first to be
No, I
sent
think-
to council? Or did that go directly to council?
I think it was to
That's
council.
going to council.
My
Yeah, I think-
understanding is
yeah.
was council.
Yeah,
So usually, since the commission advises the department, you would draft the proposed legislation, seeking, support from the department. And then the department would seek, a council member to introduce the proposed legislation by request. And then, of course, you know, you could attend the council meeting to provide, kind of the context, of what you're talking about. But generally speaking, it's probably best if there's a drafted ordinance already. Since, you know, you folks are like the expertise in this area, rather than tasking the council member to come up with what exactly should be in the proposed legislation. I just think it's
Okay.
more efficient that way.
Okay,
So that
I'll-
this is also tabled
I'll draft that, and I'm just asking if anyone would be interested in working on that. Because I think we can have one person, if I'm not mistaken, working on that, if anyone is interested, and if not, I'll draft it and bring it to the next meeting.
I think a pig can have up to 3, right?
Or
Yeah, I
we,
think
or,
it's
or we
up
can
to
have a
three,
pig too, yeah.
Well, if we do it with 2 people, then we don't need a pig, right?
Right.
I'm happy to review after you,
Okay,
if you want to take the first cut.
that works.
See with council.
Council, if that works for you, myself and Commissioner Garcia will work on drafting an ordinance. And then we will discuss it next meeting in sending it to DEM for recommendation.
Yeah,
Is that
that's fine.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's it.
It's all for new business. There.
oh, I was just looking to see if we'd covered this.
Yep, now we have director's report.
Okay. Did we get everything we wanted out of this?
Yes. We move to table.
Okay. All right, Director, are you still out there?
Yes, I'm still here. Let's see, somebody's gonna, yeah, okay. So, we talked a little bit about legislative, status of, you know, this is the time to submit any possible legislation that you guys would like to address, so we could coordinate with our administration. And Peter will be the contact. He'll be doing what he did last year. He will have a list of all the legislative matters and bills that will be presented, or the department will be supporting. So that's in regard to number 1. Number 2, solid waste division projects and updates is our recycling section. Craig, are you? Could you hear me?
I'll have him join.
Okay. That way he could give you guys updates on what's going on. The good thing is the county was able to work with the nonprofit to secure $1.5 million, and there's few workshops gonna happen. So hopefully you all participate, become part of the decision making as well, because it was on Hawaii News. Now, was it I think two nights ago? And so now the entire state is eyes on us, all the counties, to figure a way how we're going to spend that $1.5 million and come up with a good model that some other counties could take it and run with it as well. So definitely there's a lot at stakes here to make sure that we have good suggestions that could be implemented, but yet we need to stay focused and we need to be able to recommend certain programs or pilots that could achieve the goal and objectives that our community wanted. For years, that discussion has been, going around. I remember when I first started, I met with the group and they wanted to use these reusable foodware. And the idea is how it's going to be funded now. There's $1.5 million that could be spent to be able to come up with a great pilot program that could be implemented, hopefully statewide. So we could take the lead on it, and our county here, working with the nonprofit, our communities probably would take the lead on it and hopefully become like a statewide model. So that's as far as that item. The operations study, we talked about it. Shilly's is working very hard and committed to her dedication and making sure that the consultant connects with all the stakeholders to make sure that we collect all the information, recommendations, input that we could capture so we could analyze it and create that countywide operational analysis on the current solid waste system. So number 3, wastewater division projects. Bahala and Nalehu moving forward as per timeline identified within the AOC. So far we met every timeline EPA had requested. We still waiting on the community members to vote and give us their input on what system they preferred to use. There was 4 options. Package unit, utilizing the current collection system versus the installation of a new collection system versus the IWS's individual wastewater system that is maintained and operated by the county versus the IW system that has given to the owners for maintenance, but through a contract. So these options were presented to our community at Pahala, and we still waiting to make sure we get enough to be able to make the decision on the preferred option so we can move forward. EPA just approved the preliminary engineering report for Nalehu just 2 days ago. So that by itself will now trigger us to move into the next step, which is EID, Environmental Information Document. That could be performed as environmental assessment or some type of environmental document that we need to create to allow for the funding of state revolving funds. So that's for that. West Hawaii wastewater projects, we got a handful of projects still under the design process. Kalaka'i, Koloko. These are 2 waste treatment plant. Currently, staff is working on design projects and replacement of the package waste treatment unit, one of the train Koloko. So that's as far as the west side projects. Hilo waste treatment plan. Hilo's moving forward. We anticipate the project will go out to bid on April of next year, with the anticipation that we're gonna issue a notice to proceed by June. So that's right on schedule. Wastewater plans, number 4. Addition of wastewater services for Puna District. As you all know, with the bulleted item for there is, I believe Kelly gave quick updates earlier if I listened to her, but this is moving forward. We presented it to county council members. The mayor have signed off on the environmental programmatic statement. So, and we had multiple meetings with the communities, and I believe Kelly was there last Saturday as well. Kelly,
I'm here.
You want to give a quick update on that since you were there Saturday?
Sure. So following our presentation at County Council, it was requested that we do one last community engagement opportunity to incorporate more community feedback into the final facility plan. So we participated in Ashley Kirkerkowitz's meeting Revitalize Puna this Saturday. We designed a public engagement game to solicit feedback on how the community likes to basically score all of our project alternatives against each other. Like I said, we did evaluated 20 different project alternatives for Puna, and so the county priority is, we're concerned with costs, but others have other priorities as well. So we solicited a bunch of feedback and had prizes, and we're going to take any new comments that we received from Saturday and incorporate it into the final draft, which will be expected from mid-November. And that will be the end of that part of the project.
Question?
Sure.
Good, thank you. So with that, I think the last item, talk about information request to DM from commissioners. What options are available, if any, for removing illicit and abandoned vehicles? Somebody, okay. Go ahead. I guess that's, could use Peter could you expand on that? So.
You see the response from DAD on the screen?
Yeah, could you zoom out so you could, yeah, that's good. Okay. All right. Just to let you know, since Bill 200 also passed, we working on the budget under that DAV section to make sure that be able to set certain funding to be able to implement to the extent possible Bill 200, which allows us to go to private property and pick up 2 vehicles a year, but it's going to be contingent on availability of funds. So
Where are they gonna come from?
the funding
Yeah,
the funding is going to come from the section itself, the $12 that we collect. It's in the reserve, so it's going to come out of the reserve from that fund. That's why it's going to be subject to availability of fund.
do you have any idea when the last time that $12 fee was spent?
2002.
2002.
It's time I try to plant the seed at county council when that Bill 200 was approved. Maybe it is time to maybe introduce ordinances to increase that.
Right. I mean, that's what we were going after when we were working on it.
Yeah, it's been a long time. $12 a year. It's costing us almost the highest I've seen, about 800 to tow and dispose. If you take that 800 divided by $12, you need at least 40, 50 years to recoup that $800. So
Again,
with that,
so
yeah, with that, I think if you guys have any other question for my department, I could entertain. If not, I think DM is will be on standby for questions.
anything? Well, on the expansion of the disposal fee on the vehicles, did I miss it? Did you say that we actually got an increase on the registration of that?
No.
No,
It has been $12 since 2002, I believe.
yeah, long time.
Yeah.
So did we put in for one, or they just skipped us?
They skipped us. It seemed like we need to take. I planted the seed to county council that eventually we need to come back, or somebody, if it's a state legislation, because the money goes to the state through the DMV, I believe, and the county, Kiera, I think you could help me out on this one. If it's going to require ordinances at county standalone by changing that DMV fees. And
Where does the $12 authority come from? Is that state law, or is that in the county code?
I think my understanding is state law, because
Do you know
the county has the authority, so we need to look into it.
Yeah.
We need
So
to
if
look
it's,
into
if it's a mandate by state, which I can't imagine it would be a mandate of $12 in the statute, but it might be in the county code, or perhaps a administrative rule of the county that could be changed. If it's an administrative rule, it doesn't need to be by ordinance. If it's in the county code, then it needs to be by ordinance. And in that case, you would go to county council to seek an amendment to that section of the county code.
Yeah,
But yeah, it sounds like you need to double check that authority.
Yeah, we need to check the authority, and Go ahead, who's the beater? Or-
No, I believe it was by ordinance. Now that you bring it up,
Yeah, so then it would be a proposed amendment to that section of the county code to increase the amount to I don't know, an appropriate amount. And I guess I leave that to DEM and the commission to comment on what would be the appropriate amount of increase.
Right. Hopefully, like I said, yeah, it's gonna be a very sensitive topic because it's number one, it's been since 2002. Number two is I hear that we the highest in the state when it for collection, but our population is probably lower than city and county. So and we need to figure out, because if people bring their cars from the mainland or from different counties, we don't collect the $12, so somebody else collects them. So we need to deep dive into this ordinances and figure out, either from a legislative tackling or ordinances or doing something that with DMV through finance to be able to, could we recharge the $12 if somebody brings their car from Oahu to here? You know, I don't know. So, because eventually if they abandon their vehicle here, the county is going to pay for it rather than city and county.
right?
So we need to start thinking how we could tighten this program to make sure we getting compensated for the work we do.
Now, back to the point of purchase fee, full circle.
Also maybe reuse, because I was just recently in this position where I needed to have a vehicle disposed of, and I did call the county. Problem is, it had so many good parts on it's a truck that is, very sought after as far as parts, but we don't have a program for like parting out cars or basically reusing like a junkyard would be, and it could be in an organized fashion, but basically cutting up and taking apart cars that it could also be job creation for folks, basically green jobs in the sense of reusing it instead of just trashing the whole car. There's a lot of good parts that are very, very well,
In
sought
theory,
after.
that's what the auto wreckers.
Right, but we don't really we have two, right, in Kea'au, and
Well,
they
once
don't-
that closed.
they don't take, but they don't take cars, right? They just get them if they're.
They have sort of like their own mini. I was
Yeah, but-
told they have sort of like their own mini junkyard where they, not a junkyard, because that's banned on this island, but
Yeah,
they part out machines, from what I've heard.
Well, there was nowhere that I could find in calling DEM that I could give this vehicle to that has a lot of good parts on it.
Usually
So
there's a few nonprofit organizations that take vehicles that,
they take them, but then they smash them. What my understanding is, they smash them and they dump them, and then maybe director, you can
well, in
comment on that.
some cases they part them out. Then, obviously depending on what it is and the condition of it, but
Craigslist.
No, that's where we went, was Craigslist, and it was great. It's getting used, but, yeah. But setting up a program would be awesome.
well, of course, that's why I was going after the point of purchase. In other words, you bring a car onto the island. And the county automatically gets money. You take the car away, you get your money.
Well, the county wouldn't like that.
Hmm?
County wouldn't like giving money back.
generally speaking, if it arrives here, it's gonna die here. Russ never sleeps. Yeah, so,
All right,
well, anything further from director?
I think that's about it. That's about it for DM, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you.
Here next is future agenda items, follow up on action items determined today and any other some things that commissioners would like to suggest.
Any thoughts? Anything you'd like to see on the agenda?
Yeah, so as an action item to read up on Senate Bill 1458 and extended producer responsibility. And also drafting an ordinance to be brought to the agenda next time for film industry waste management protocols.
Okay, you want to continue?
Hmm?
Would like to continue with the agenda?
Yeah.
Our next item is announcements. Next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 29th at the Community Meeting Hall, Building G of the West Hawai'i Civic Center, 74-5044 on Keo'okalole Highway, and via Zoom. Please contact me or review the agenda posted on the county calendar within 6 days of the next meeting for confirmation. Our next item is adjournment.
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Having that second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We've had enough.
5 ayes. That's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, you look fine.
That's great.
You know how hard it would be to find out like what they